Network stubbing is not the only way of how we can look at different states. One of the great examples of what we can test with Cypress is the app layer testing. So we can actually dive deep into the code of our application and make sure that it works well. So let me show you what I mean. I'll go to my next test. That's app JS, CYTS actually. All right. and yeah, so in this example, I want to show you something that's called app actions. You may have heard about those. Sometimes they're confused as an alternative to page objects. I don't think that's what they are really, although they have some common properties, but they are actually a thing that are taking the advantage of the fact that our tests are running in the same context as the app we are testing. So let's put our developer hat on for a moment, and let's take a look into our code. So in my code, I have this store TS file. Now there are a lot of imports here, but what this essentially is like a central storage for my application. So whenever I change the state, or I navigate, or I have some data, or want to change something about the data or something about the state of the app, it's all saved here in this use store variable. So if I take a look into here, you can see that there are lists, there's a loading that can be set to true or false. There are loading errors and notifications and stuff like that. Basically, every state of the app is in here. Now, what I'm doing here is that whenever we are in the context of Cypress, whenever the Cypress is running on the window, basically, in other words, whenever we are testing with Cypress, I want to expose this use store, this constant that has all of the state of the app. I want to expose that and add it to a variable window store. Now, what this means is that when I'm testing with my with Cypress, and I want to when I'm testing with Cypress, I can access the window and I can take a look into that store. And what this enables me to do is to call different methods that are in the store TS file. So I can, for example, get the board list. What my application is doing when I'm opening it is that it is triggering an HTTP request with the method of get and the URL of API boards. What this will do is it will get all of the boards, all of the items that it should render on this page from the database. Now, what I'm doing here is that I'm visiting the page, so that's going to load all of the boards, and then I'm using request to create a new item in that database. But of course, my application is not going to load those, not going to do another request for me whenever I want. So instead, I can go into the application layer and trigger the application doing that again. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. So I'm accessing the window store and I'm invoking the function which normally triggers the HTTP request. So I'm accessing the internals of the application to get to a certain state. Now I'm pausing this test in here because I want to demonstrate that. But if I go step by step and hit the request and then hit the window, invoke the store, and hit the get board list function, is going to trigger my HTTP request again. Now, okay, so we're jumping into like really, really advanced stuff in here. And that's mostly because we are doing the access to the application code. Now there are a lot of things we can do with that. It's we can change the state. We can make the application do stuff for us in order to either get to an edge case or to test something that's really hard to get to, like a very complicated state, which would require us to like create very complicated data or do several steps to get into that. Uh, but we can even go even further and take a look into the code even deeper and take a look into our application and break it down even to smaller chunks.